Bravemaker Show is hosted by Tony Gafferstone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Tony Gafferstone coming at you live from Redwood City, California. It's showtime, and I am a Caucasian man wearing a black hat with the pink and white words Bravemaker on it. And I am a filmmaker, an actor, screenwriter in Redwood City, California, executive director of Bravemaker. I love getting to do this. I'm usually always with my friend, collaborator, and co-host Christina Ray Jackson, but she's unable to show up today. So my love to you, Christina. Come back soon. I miss you. I always start the show with Christina with a question, which is, how are you braving your way toward your creative goals? And I'm going to hold that before I respond, because I'm just going to bring our special guest on today, who is a filmmaker herself. She's writing, she's directing, and she's doing it all from Austin, Texas. And her name is Catherine Vouvray. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
So glad that you're here. Yeah, we're excited that you're joining us. Another Austin filmmaker, thanks to our producer, Amy Cohen. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and to our viewers, those who are watching live. Tell us a little bit about yourself, give a physical description, and what you do there in Austin.
Okay, awesome. I'm Catherine Vouvray, pronouns she, her, raging lesbian. I am a filmmaker / creative writing teacher in Austin, Texas. I'm white with long brown hair with luscious silver streaks. I'm sitting in front of way too many books. I have a hoarding habit with books, obviously. And I'm happy to be here.
Love it. That's great. Thanks. You're happy to be here is like one of the most important things. I love it. Raging lesbian, great book. Hoarder, fantastic. We love all that stuff. So let me, I'll save our opening question, but Christina, if she were here, she would ask you, what is your origin story? How did you get to the place that you are today? How did your growing up uniquely prepare you for what you're doing today as a filmmaker?
Okay, well, my origin story is a bit gritty. I grew up in very rural East Texas. I was raised by parents with mental illness, and I grew up in a trailer park for high school. We were not wealthy. And freakishly, it was an all-white town. So I grew up surrounded by endemic racism. I've actually seen hooded members of the KKK burn a 10-foot cross. I was 6. It was traumatic and scarring. I had to educate myself out of that world. Growing up gay there was not fun. I was closeted for many years. And some of my scripts talk about that a little bit. I think I became a creator. I like to say words saved me. My parents were voracious readers, and they handed that down to me, which was a positive. But they also handed down this ability to really watch and see what people were feeling on the inside by the way they behaved, which is an incredible skill as a filmmaker. It was a survival skill back then, so it's pretty ingrained. I ran off to UT, got out of that world a little bit, and then I left Texas after that, and I've lived on a bunch of coasts. I've lived in Oregon, Florida, and Rhode Island. Just did sort of a tour of coasts. And came back here came to Austin when my daughter was 2, so she could grow up with her cousins, because my sister and her kids are nearby. But now my daughter is soon to graduate high school, so I'm really getting to focus a lot more on my creative work now that my mom duties are lessening. Yeah. Oh, so how did I get into filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
So when I didn't major in RTF at UT, which is something I might be trying to rectify soon, but I majored in 18th century French literature. It's amazing. I don't work at McDonald's.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But I wanted to be a screenwriter right out of college. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to move to the West Coast. And I really wanted to pursue that. And I got really bogged down by some bad decisions and having to work my way out of poverty mindset. And I'm not good enough for that. I'm not worth that. Who am I, this little girl from this really trashy part of the world? Who am I to aspire to something so big? That took years to get over. So instead, my very lesbian self married a man right out of college and spiraled into what happens to you when you wear a mask 24/7. And then finally got out of that and wrote screenplays and novels while raising my daughter, but she always came first. I got married to my partner somewhere along the way. We've been together 20 years, but I guess we got married in 2015, right before it was legal. We went to California to do it. So, family and children and all that came first for a very long time. So I wrote, but I didn't submit. I wouldn't allow myself to take that risk. It's a huge risk, and I didn't want to. I sort of had a little crinkly, crushed ego for so many years, and
as so many creative people do.
Yeah. So then, when my daughter was a little older and I'm like, gosh, I really want to make films. My partner is an acting coach. She's a really successful, really well-known acting coach, first in Oregon and now here in Austin. So I have access to this giant pool of SAG actors, and all I have to do, she used to be a casting director in LA for Hollywood movies. So I can just call her up, from wherever I am if I'm not at home and say, I need some actors. So actually, the first time I was on set, someone else made my script into a movie. So I got to work with a director and be on set and learn that way. He was very generous with allowing me complete access to everything, which was awesome. So shout out to Dino. He ended up being my DP on my third film. And then I got some funding together through my sister, through my best friend, through, a circle of love to make my first two films both in the same year, Suspended and IRA Cashing In. I made in 2019. One's a drama, one's a comedy. And then COVID came crashing down before I could get them festival released. So IRA got festival released last year and Suspended this year. And my third film, Movement, is awaiting its release, and my fourth film is in post-production.
So a lot of history there to bring you where you are today, and I'm glad that you are out and being able to be your true self, which is always really encouraging to hear. So I'm assuming some of that is in your writing as a person who's been through it, experienced, you talked about poverty mindset, which I definitely identify with, is how do you value yourself and how do you also make money in this industry. So I always like to ask filmmakers, not every filmmaker who has that label filmmaker is doing it full time. So are you doing it full time? And if not, how do you sustain a life? And thinking about all of those creative people out there that want to do this, how do you do it?
So I'm not a full-time filmmaker. I wish, but I've only made 4 short films, which it's impossible to make a living making short films. I actually have been teaching in a public school that is also a fine arts academy, and I co-direct the creative writing major. So I actually get to teach little middle schoolers script writing, novel writing, and creative writing too. So that's pretty cool.
So you're working in an adjacent space, which is great. I tell a lot of people trying to make their way. I work other jobs as well as a way to supplement income or have the main income, because in the Bay Area, especially, it's just expensive to live. And I'm assuming Austin, as it's continuing to grow, is becoming more and more of a destination for a lot of creative people. Okay, cool. So you've done 4 shorts. You're preparing for your feature. Can you talk a little bit about, and maybe let's go to the question we always start with. What did you do this week to move yourself forward in the feature development? Because making a feature is no joke, and it takes a little bit at a time. So what's one thing that you did even this week to move that goal closer to being accomplished?
Well, I'm very lucky to have a writers group that is formed out of finalists for the Writers Lab. So there are a few of us, all women over 40, because that's what the Writers Lab takes. And we were all finalists. I guess 2 years ago now. I don't know, 2020 something. And now we read each other's scripts and we help each other along. And they read the script that I'm going to be shooting this summer this week. So that's what I did this week. I got some notes for rewriting.
Right on. You got some notes. Okay, cool. I want to talk about that. For myself, I'm shooting a short this Saturday called The Crossing Guard. So I've got my script right here. And I always like to show people because I get overwhelmed with this stuff too. I do what I can, right? So I wrote the script, I cast it, I'm funding it, I'm doing all these things, I'm getting the permits and locations. It's like I don't have time to do major storyboards. So like here's my storyboards right in the script, y'all. And I showed the DP yesterday and our AD, we met and we did the shot. It's like I did whatever I could with my 3 kids, my 1 wife, my 4 jobs. You just got to go out there and do it. So the Brave Maker way is brave it, make it happen, face your fears. And believe me, I have a lot of insecurities as well, but it's like, I have to make stuff. I haven't been on a set since my feature, which is now going on 1 year and 3 months ago. So I had to find a way to get onto set again, even if it meant doing a short, which I think the reality is, shorts are important and they are good and they do satisfy, I think, a creative, thing in our journeys. But I want to be doing features, but I can't expect to do a feature every year. That's just kind of crazy. It's a lot of money, a lot of time. So I am fine doing just whatever I can, and shorts are fun and they're a fun way to show your work. And this is what I think I'd love to hear from you as you're preparing your feature. You learn stuff, right? So what did you learn along the way, right? What are you learning as you're making your features or your shorts get ready for your feature?
With every short, I've set myself this immense task. So my first short, I was like, okay, I'm going to have child leads and 50 extras on my very first film. And I did that. And, there were definitely some glitches, but I learned so much. And then my second film, I did my first comedy, and that's totally different with timing. And it was so much fun, though. We shot that one really fast, too, in 1.5 days. And then my third film, I had sort of the name actor, and it was all shot outside because of COVID. So the whole thing is shot in a zoo, in the Austin Zoo, actually. And we had animals, and it was great, but it was very difficult because foleying in all those wild animals, and we had the Chilean National Film Company, that's not its real name, come on board and do our sound design, and they were amazing. They saw an animal and they found the animal sound. It's amazing to me what people can do. And then my fourth film that's still in post-production, I went for the first time with amateur actors because it was very important that the actors were in a real relationship because there was a love scene and we're in the middle of COVID. So it was a married lesbian couple. It's about a lesbian love triangle. So all 3 were lesbians and all 3 were amateurs. And I had the lovely ability to shoot it over a long period of time. We could just show up at their house and do it when we needed to. So I learned a lot through that. I DP'd that myself and I edited it myself.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. You wrote it, directed it, DP'd it, edited it? Come on.
I don't ever want to do that again. Yes. I mean, it was basically a no budget picture, right? This is my first non-SAG film, and I went to town on the 0 budget thing. So it's one way to do it, I shot it on my phone with moment lenses, the big lenses you can put on your phone, and it's about phones. It's about how the social media world impacts our personal relationships, and so shooting it on the phone was purposeful. But man, it was a lot of work.
I love hearing how people make their movies because, first of all, I'm stoked to hear you did it. You made a movie and made a movie on your phone and made a movie with no budget, because those are all things that prevent people from making a movie. Like, I don't have a good camera, I don't have the money. So just make stuff, because that's the way that you're going to learn, which is great. So as you do your feature coming up, you said next summer. So that's like 8 months away from summer. Okay. What are things that you will not do because you learned the hard way on your shows? What are things you're just telling yourself, don't repeat this, Catherine, don't repeat what?
Sound recordist. I want my first 3 features shorts had budget. So I had beautiful professional people in every department head. And my feature is not funded at the level to have every single department head. So I'm just trying to manifest from the universe a sound recordist.
Okay.
So please come to me, sound recordist. I do not want to have to mess with sound because it is vitally important and it's incredibly specific.
So paying a sound recorder. So by the way, Catherine said the word Foley. If those of you who are emerging and learning filmmakers, Foley is the word that is used for creating sounds that weren't recorded in camera on set. So if she's filming at a zoo and we see a parrot, but we don't get the chance to record the parrot while we're on set, a artist, a craftsperson puts that, goes and records it or makes it with their sound. That's called Foley. So talking about having someone there with a boom mic and a sound kit is pricey. It could be anywhere from the lowest, like $500 a day, and that's sometimes cheap for a feature, to $1,500 a day. And I hear you saying skimping on that means it's going to cost you somewhere else. It's going to cost you in post-production. It's going to cost you in quality. And, they talk a lot, meaning critics and filmmakers talk a lot about what makes a good film. Well, you need a good story. That's really important, which comes from a good script. You need good actors to bring that story to life. And sometimes an audience can forgive certain elements, right? If there's a really amazing actor who's got kind of silly lines, but they make it believable because the story might be a little broken, but they're fun to look at, that's fine. If the music, can help out and bring emotion, but sound, you can have all those great things, but if you can't hear what the actor's saying or if it's tinny, that's one of the worst things. And so I fully agree with you that having a sound recorder is one thing I learned too, the hard way too, is just don't skimp on that, it's tough because you go, a person with the camera, we can shoot things on phones nowadays and they can look great. But that sound piece, yeah. So when you say you don't have that yet or it's not funded yet, talk more about that. Like, what's the plan? So if you're 8 months away, what are you hoping to do?
So luckily, the University of Texas RTF department is in my backyard, and they have a graduate film school, which is ranked in the top 10, and they are brimming with people who want credits. So we are reaching out to them for production assistance, but I also want to see if I can find someone in the production vein who is really looking to, and it's summer, so it's not during their school year necessarily. So maybe they can come over, be really available. It's 21 days, so it's 3 weeks. So it's not it's a big ask, and then I would of course pay them if we got distribution, but as of right now, there's no budget for that. I do have the budget for other parts of it in place, but not that yet. So I'm manifesting, and I really want female department heads or non-gender conforming department heads, but I will take anyone.
So 21 days you're filming your feature, and talk about what the feature is, what it's about, and if you're, you want to pitch some other support, how can people find you to help make the film with you?
Okay. Yeah. We're shooting at a little horse ranch in Wimberley for 3 weeks. And I'm willing to break those 3 weeks up across the summer because we have the ranch for at least a month. So, or maybe even 2. So it's all negotiable as usual. But so the film it's really tackling the question of women being secondary to their children. And I'm a happy mom, right? Super happy mom, love my kid more than anything, but women are often pitted against their children for their worth. So you think about the ridiculous anti-abortion laws going up all over the place, including my home state, where a woman will be left to die if there's not a chance her fetus will live, right? So women take a back seat in a very powerful, very dangerous way. So my film doesn't deal with abortion. but it deals with another arena of a woman's life where if a child is in jeopardy, the woman is vilified in a way that's really not appropriate because she has mental illness. I don't want to give away too much because if I say exactly what it is, it ruins the twist, right?
Sure.
So, but it's about a woman's worth. It's about self-love. It's about a woman figuring out how to forgive herself for something that happened in her past and trying to find a way forward for herself when she's fighting mental illness.
You like provocative things. I love it.
I do.
We love provocative stories. Stories have the power to open our hearts and open our minds. And it reminds me of that, that infamous quote about art disturbs the comfortable and comforts the disturbed. So yeah, I'm all for that. That's great. So 3 weeks, and you're looking. So how can people reach out to you? By the way, this is episode 169. If you're just tuning in, watching us live or on the replay, I'm with filmmaker Catherine Vouvray. She's talking about doing her feature film in the summer of 2023. How can people find you if they want to be a part of this, or in any way, funding? Are you still casting? You're looking for a sound recorder? Talk about that.
So I have one open cast position, which is a lead. Jennifer Griffin, who has been in a whole lot of stuff, has graciously come on as the co-lead, the other lead, but I am missing one lead, and I am missing a sound recordist. I might have my producers in place. I definitely need more funding, especially to pay the sound recordist. And you can find me, just search my name. There are only 3 people in the world with the last name Vouvray, and they all live in my house. So yeah. And my website is Comme le vin, which is French for like the wine, because my last name Vouvray is a wine. So it's sort of a play on that.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That French literature degree kicking in.
Tell us about the cast, the role that you're trying to cast right now, because I like helping people cast.
Okay, so it's the lead. It's the mentally ill woman trying to find a way to love herself and move forward in her life. So yeah, it's a huge role for a person who is somewhere between 35 and 45. Yeah. Okay. And unfortunately, I have to say it has to be a white person because of the family that's already cast. But I do have lots of diverse roles elsewhere in the film, but not this role.
Okay. I have some actors that are already coming to mind. So in our community here, so I'm going to connect you with people. Maybe they can be self-submitting for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I am going to open it up soon.
Great. Okay. Sounds good. And it films in Texas.
Outside of Austin.
It's SAG?
It is not going to be SAG.
Okay.
It's actually, yes, it's SAG, but it's micro budget.
Yeah.
So it's payment deferred.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love it. That works. Okay, cool. Catherine Vouvray, filmmaker, writer, director, producer, editor, DP when she has to be.
Yeah.
We still have a few more minutes. I always love asking directors how you work with actors. What are some of the tips for other directors who are working with actors? And what would you say to actors learning to work with directors and, voicing their needs or their questions? What kind of things have worked for you in the past?
So for me, it's always a conversation. And I really believe in rehearsals. I believe in cold reads all the way through on-set rehearsals before the camera rolls. I believe in really giving the actor space to create the character and fill in all the blanks. The whole point of working with fabulous actors is they bring so much to the part you didn't envision. So I try to keep my vision as open as possible, so that I'm not dictating what the character is supposed to be like. And it's a partnership creation. And not just with that actor, but with the other actors that surround that actor in the film, right? It's like a group collaboration of who these people are and who they are to each other. So for me, I guess the biggest tip would be, don't be afraid to take input all the time. Like, I am not a dictator director at all. I hire people I really respect, and I want them to add to the film in ways I don't imagine. And they always surprise me, and they always make the film better. So we do a lot of talking. We talk. It's a conversation that lasts over weeks before the film even starts. And then I really try to give them room to work when it's day of, when we're really shooting. I record the first few takes, but they're not meant to be real takes. It's meant to be the breathing room for the actor to fill into the character, and to really listen to the other actors and see what sparks. And then we all sort of figure out a direction that really works in the moment. So I don't know if that's advice or not, but that's what I do.
What do you do when you have an actor who feels stuck, who maybe can't bring what you're hoping to the page to life? What are some things that you do to get that person feeling safe, feeling free? Any stories you can share from set?
So I've been really blessed with working with really trained actors. Like I said, my partner is a Meisner teacher. So they've been through a lot of that gauntlet to feel safe, as long as they feel safe with me. So I build a relationship with them before we get on set. But when they're really stuck, you just have to throw a curveball, right? You have to get them out of that feedback loop that they're in. So it could be flipping the set around, changing the camera angle, telling them to get up and move, and completely changing the blocking. You have to be really open to, if you have your character doing something that's not working for your actor, you have to change the something, because you can't really change the actor. You can't force on them what's supposed to come from inside them. So it's, it can set things back, but it's worth it, because usually they'll free up, and whatever it was that was pressing on them will move away and let them do their work, because they're all so amazing. Actors just amaze me.
I agree. I love the acting, or the director-actor relationship so much for that purpose of helping the actor do the acting. We want to protect them. We want to give them space. And it goes back to what you said before about building a relationship with actors. If and when we can as directors, because sometimes things move so quick and you can't, but to be able to go out, have a meal, have a non-stressful, timed, lights, camera, action type experience with an actor that builds that trust, I think helps on the set so much. So yeah, I agree with that. I think when you were talking, I was imagining sometimes when an actor feels stuck, they need to have a moment to breathe, take 10 minutes, do a walk, go around the block. Sometimes I've seen actors just feel like they can't get to where they think the end of the scene should be. So it's like, how about we start 2 minutes before the scene starts, and can you just improv and see what comes up, right? And sometimes then they can get there because they had a different entering point, because maybe the way the scene starts on the page wasn't working for them. Yeah, all those things are great when you can think about them ahead of time to plan, but sometimes you can't. Almost want to have a little notebook, like, okay, if an actor feels stuck, here's 10 different things. That might be a good blog post. Well, good. That's great. Thank you so much for all of that stuff. I've got a question from Gabriel, who is one of our filmmaking interns. He's a high school student, as a great filmmaker himself. Says he's curious what kind of stuff you teach at the school you work at. How are you bringing out the best from your students?
Oh, that's a great question. My fundamental thing is character want, right? So even my little 11-year-old script writers, I'm like, what does your character want? But I teach middle school, right? So I teach script writing, novel writing, and creative writing too. So they've all been through some creative writing before. So I really try to inspire them and get them to believe they can do it, because at this age, they're not really looking for criticism. They're looking for, oh man, this would be cool. And they blow me away. I've had people win national novel writing contests. It's crazy how well these kids write so young. So I give them a lot of fundamentals, but I really just let them go with it. And they're so creative. And writing can be taught. You can get better from wherever you are. I mean, I have people who come into my classroom, have only been in the country for a week and speak very little English, and they still succeed in my class. So there's nothing stopping anyone from being a writer. And that's my main message to my kids. And my kids rise up and meet that message, and they go out and they publish. It's amazing. And they're so young.
That's encouraging. And I like the simplicity of that as an actor or as a director. It's just boil it down to, what does this character want in the story?
Mhm.
And we talk about that a lot in screenwriting or in helping actors figure out the objective of a scene. And when you do that in real life too, we all are characters who want something. We all have goals and dreams for our relationships, for our finances, for our romantic partnerships. And that's what's so fun about, I think, the work that we do as filmmakers. It's like we're trying to bring these little snippets, like Alfred Hitchcock, movies are just like real life with all the boring parts cut out. And if we could do that to our own life, like, it sounds cliche, but we're the protagonists of our story. So go after what you want and conquer those obstacles. So good. Yeah, right on. This is great, Catherine. Well, anything else you'd like to say before we go into our Brave Fave lightning round? Anything else you've learned as a filmmaker or want people to know about you, or tips and tricks that have been helpful to you along the way?
So the one thing I will say is greenlight yourself.
Yes.
Go out there. There's no institution that will tell you you're ready. There's no person with some star behind them that will tell you you're ready. You're ready. The only way to be ready is to do it. Greenlight yourself. I thought I was way too old to get into this. By Hollywood standards, I am ancient, but I am still trying. I'm going to break into the real show, right? I mean, I'm not going to stay doing short films in Austin. You have to greenlight yourself. And as soon as you do, this is especially true for women who don't often give themselves permission. As soon as you do, the universe conspires to help you.
Yep. Go after it. I love it. Stop waiting, everybody. Make it. And even if you don't have all the parts of the puzzle put together, I think what I see for you, Catherine, is that Sound Recorders is going to come because you've got a date, you've got the story, you're putting things in. And a friend of mine always says, momentum begets momentum. Most of the time we don't reach our goals because we're like, well, we don't want to start until, and this gets me a little mad sometimes, but filmmakers waiting for the grants that they had applied for 3 months ago. Y'all, you can't do that. You got to go get the grant for the post-production after you make the film, because I have too many friends waiting for the grants and they don't come and then they're stuck because they were waiting that 3 months. So good. I love this, Catherine. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And when you do the feature, come back and tell us what you learned. We also have a blog I'm going to send you. I wrote my first blog about what I learned making my feature film. So I hope that helps you. And I'm going to send you some casting choices, but don't go away because we're going to end the show with one of my favorite segments. Stand by.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
All right, so my Brave Fave for the week is going to be the Nirvana Soul Coffee Shop that I just was hanging out with today with some of our team. We were in downtown San Jose, and they have some of the best coffee, some of the best artwork, some of the best vibe that you can imagine in downtown San Jose. And it's all owned by Black women. It's owned and operated by Black women. It's a real cool space, a nice, cool selfie spot as well. It's not only in downtown San Jose, but they just opened up a second location in Cupertino. So if you're in the South Bay, California, check it out, Nirvana Soul. And thanks to the owners and baristas there, because I had a churro waffle today with my oat milk latte, and it was so good. No regrets. What about you, Catherine? What's your Brave Fave?
Those pictures are making me thirsty. So it's not super recent, but I was blown away when I saw Bullet Train in the theater, because I don't usually gravitate to very testosterone heavy action flicks, but it was so good. And I was laughing so hard, and I needed it at the time. So it is a little violent, not going to lie, but so funny, unexpectedly funny. I was very impressed.
I know it's got a lot of cool stunts in it as well, because a friend of mine was on the stunt. I've not seen it, but I've heard so many people say it's really great. So Bullet Train, I think, did you see it in the theater or did you watch it on?
I did.
Okay, you did. All right. It must be available on VOD at somewhere, I'm sure, by now. Because
it should be by now, yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And Brad Pitt is in it, so go ahead, check it out. Thank you so much, Catherine. Episode 169. Make sure you follow Catherine on the socials. She is on her website is COMMELEVIN.com. That's the French. What's the pronunciation for that?
Comme le va.
Comme le va. And then on Instagram at ACVOUVRAY. Give her a follow, say hello, follow her journey. Again, she's looking for a sound recordist and she's casting. So this is a great way to build those connections, Brave Maker teams. Catherine, don't go away. As we go into November, I want you all to know that we have our November event coming up on the 30th. It is called Clean Slate, and it is a documentary about two people trying to make a movie. They happen to be best friends. And the tagline is so cool because it's like making movies is impossible, but making movies is hard, but it's impossible when you're in recovery. So this documentary is coming out in December. We are getting a preview screening of it on the 30th of November. We're going to film it or screen it at Kenyatta College. Tickets are on sale now at bravemaker.com. Go check it out. And the filmmaker, Jared Callahan, will be here. We're really excited to have them. It's a documentary about these two filmmakers making a movie while in rehab, feature documentary. So it's super cool. So it deals with the challenges of being creative while also fighting addiction and trying to overcome and heal all the pain that has been caused to you and to others. Check that out, bravemaker.com. And remember, we are a nonprofit. So all of your support and donations help us to be who we are today. Hey, we had a Halloween party last week. It was so fun. Thank you so much to everybody who came. Pictures are on Insta at bravemaker.org. We gave some gift cards and some other prizes to the best costume winners. Way to level it up, everybody. And we gained 2 more monthly donors. Woo woo. So we're up to 28 people a month who give anywhere from $5 to $150. All that money helps us to do our work, helps us have cool software like this to do our live shows, help us to do our podcast editing payments and subscriptions, helps us to do short films like the one we're doing this Saturday called The Crossing Guard. So many cool things. So thank you all. Please consider becoming a donor today by going to your phone and texting the word Brave Maker. That's one word, Brave Maker, to 44321. You'll get a link instantly on your phone so you can become a donor. And donors get perks like VIP passes to our film fest and stuff. You can also go online at bravemaker.com/donate. Huge thank you to our producer, Amy Cohen, who's in California this week, producing while we're here live in the chat. Also, thanks to all of our interns who are helping in creating content for us here at Brave Maker. Carrie Alley, who's our social media manager from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Barnell Amos, who's our podcast editor. Could not do without you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And Catherine, again, thank you for being a part of this. Please don't go away. We always do a little screenshot that we can use later. You and I will be able to fill up the screen without Christina. So again, Christina Ray Jackson not here this week, but she'll be back next week. Thank you so much, Catherine, for being here. Appreciate you. And I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thank you.
You got it. Brave stories change the world, everybody. You are the story. Till next week.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.